Colorado continues to be one of the most intriguing teams in college football. This is a program that continues to be in the conversation on a weekly basis. Everyone is very curious what Deion Sanders is going to do in 2024. And there's a lot of things that are coming out of Boulder, Colorado that have made them a very interesting team. They head into the 2024 season with a lot of confidence, and their first matchup is against a team at the FCS level that usually has a ton of confidence, but they are going through a coaching change, and that's going to be interesting to see how they handle that new regime. A 4-8 season for Colorado obviously was not what they wanted. That was a team that was going through a lot of trials and tribulations and definitely plenty of ups and downs throughout the year. And now you're looking at a 2024 year in which you're trying to wipe the slate clean. You still bring in a ton of transfer portal talent, and you have still plenty of optimism for this year. This is a new start in the Big 12. You get to go into that conference and hopefully win a few more football games than you did last year. Getting to a bowl game is obviously one of their goals, and we'll see what they can do to make that an even better experience. NDSU went 11-4 last year. Disappointing loss in the FCS playoffs, but they are going through a coaching change. Matt Enst leaves for USC, and that really hasn't changed expectations for the Bison. You're looking at a program that has won a ton of national championships. They have been on a tear, but lately they've seemed to take a little bit of a step back, and that's just really the law of numbers. When you look at a program like NDSU, you haven't really seen someone do that on a consistent basis with the number of coaches that they've had. When you go through a coaching change, typically it takes some time to get acclimated to the new staff. Guys need to figure out this new culture, and NDSU has really exceeded expectations. Now, that being said, they expect to continue competing for an FCS championship, and it's going to be fun to see how they do that. But playing against Colorado really makes things difficult. When you're looking at the Colorado Buffaloes, they are going to provide plenty of challenges and plenty of opportunities to for themselves to put up points and put pressure on NDSU. This is the first meeting between these two schools, and normally, if this was like a couple years ago, I would feel very good about where NDSU sits. Now I have a few more questions about them. Is this the NDSU that we've seen over the last few years? Is this the Bison of old? Do we know what to expect from this team? I think that the expectations from the fan base should be the same, but is this going to be that team? I think whenever you go through a coaching change, you have to wonder, are we going to continue winning football games at the clip that we did? Because that is very difficult to do with a coaching change. That's just natural. It doesn't matter who you are. And the Bison have done a great job of winning football games with new coaches, but can they continue doing that? The law of averages says no, but maybe they exceed expectations, and we're going to find out really quick how good this team could be with how they compete against Colorado. Now, the question for Colorado is, can the Buffs dominate this game? This is a game that the line is 9.5 as I'm recording right now in Colorado's favor. So that tells me that Colorado is being being respected by Vegas, and we're maybe also speaks to what's going on at NDSU. And you can probably read into your head coach just left for a position coach job with Power Five program. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that NDSU is going to tank, but I think that there's something that you can look into that, which is why the question for NDSU is what are they going to do under a new staff? The matchup I'm going to be curious to watch. NDSU's offensive line, a group that has been really good for the Bison for however many years now during their runs. The reason why they've been so good is they have won the battle at the line of scrimmage, and going against Colorado's defensive line, which last year was not a very good group, and this year expects to be much better. I think that offense or defensive line has brought in a number of transfer portal players that are going to be really fun to watch. And we'll talk about a couple of them here in a little bit. If you want to know more about Colorado's team as a whole, check out the deep dive I did for them. Colorado is a very interesting team just because you bring in so much new talent, but you do return a ton as well. And some of those guys are going to be NFL players, and some of them are trying to prove their worth at their position. And Travis Hunter is the guy who's going to get it all going. He is an electric player. If you have not watched Travis Hunter, you should definitely watch him. He is one of the most electric players in college football. You can just he's one of those examples of when people say like, "Oh, I could play Division 1 college football," and then you go watch Travis Hunter, you're like, you probably aren't even close to that kind of love. Now, Travis Hunter is special, but that's just a reinforcement of there's such a difference between D1 athletes and just your average Joe person. So there are going to be a lot of things that Travis Hunter does that are going to amaze us. And playing both sides of the football at altitude for a lot of games is one of them. And NDSU is going to have their hands full with him. They don't throw the football as much, so I would expect him to not have to do as much on defense, but it'll be fun to see how Colorado uses him on offense. So I think that he is ready for a big year. And this is a guy who is looking to be a top 10 pick in next year's NFL draft. So this is a big year for him. It's the same thing for Shadur Sanders. Shadur Sanders has a lot of playmaking ability in him. The guy threw for over 3,200 yards and 27 touchdowns in 2023. And now he is back to improve on those numbers. And I think that he can. I think that he can be a better version of himself. It's just going to be under a different offense. You're going to see a different scheme this year for Colorado, and you're going to see a different set of expectations, a different set of reads for Shadur Sanders. So Shadur Sanders is definitely someone who is also looking to be a first round pick, and that means a lot to him. That means a lot for this team to have that kind of a quarterback. And the biggest thing is going to be the protection from the offensive line. NDSU has a defense that can be very disruptive, and if you are not giving Shadur Sanders time to throw, that is going to be a long night for Colorado. But I do feel like they have gotten better at that position, and they are going to give him opportunities to showcase this talent. He just has to make smart decisions and take away some of the hero ball moments that we saw last year. And that'll be really fun to watch. He has a number of talented wide receivers. Travis Hunter is one of them. LaJohntay Wester is another one. Will Shepard comes in from Vanderbilt. I think that you have a good group of wide receivers this year that can make that passing attack, like I said, even better than it was last year. And that's really scary if you're a Big 12 team or if you're NDSU. On the defensive side of the ball, now Travis Hunter is going to be a really good corner. Bringing in DJ McKinney pretty much ensures that you're going to be solid at the cornerback position. Teams are not going to just test your defensive secondary at any point because they feel like they're overconfident. And that's really good, especially for a Colorado team that struggled against the pass at times last year. So you have two corners that are very good. But then the big thing is going to be the defensive line. What are guys like Dan Hayes, Chidozie Nwankwo, how are those guys going to step up and stop this rushing attack? How are you going to stop an NDSU offense that is going to run the football? They are going to be physical and they are going to play at a different pace than maybe you're ready for. Now, Colorado's offense is going to look different, but NDSU wants to be physical. They want to move the football on the ground, and it's going to be really tough to stop them. But it's also going to be fun to see how Colorado responds because how they respond probably tells us a little bit about how they're going to handle life in the Big 12. Now, NDSU has plenty of players that are coming back that could help them make a run. It does not matter that they have a new coaching staff. Everything is going to start with Cam Miller. The guy threw for over 2,600 yards and 19 touchdowns. He also ran for 629 yards and 13 more scores. So, yes, this is a team that is still going to run the football. That is their priority. That has not changed very much, but they can open things up. Now, they lost their top two returning receivers in terms of production from last year. So, you're looking at a guy in Raja Nelson that maybe has to take a step forward and become that more explosive weapon. Maybe this is an indication that they're going to go back to the run, and the quarterback is going to be part of that. Cole Payton is also part of that. He will play quarterback as well, and they will rotate him in certain packages. He had 615 yards and 13 touchdowns rushing last year, and NDSU is definitely going to try to utilize him. Now, the question that I have is the defense. What is this defense going to look like? And you look at some of the players they have coming back, you feel like you're in pretty good hands, even with a new coaching staff. Cole Wisniewski is a good player at safety, a very productive player. 92 tackles last year, also had 8 interceptions, according to NDSU's stats book. That was very interesting. A guy who knows what to do when the football is in the air, also knows how to make plays when it comes to stopping the ball carrier. So that's a defense that has plenty of talent on the back end. They also have good guys up front. Dylan Hendricks is back, 40 tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. He is someone who can play a big role in slowing down Colorado's offense. If he is going to get to the quarterback, he's going to get to Shedeur Sanders. That means that Colorado has not fixed their issues up front. And if he's being disruptive, if they have not fixed those issues, it's going to be a long night for Colorado. It's going to be a good night for NDSU. And NDSU is no stranger to playing on the road and doing some very disruptive things to kind of ruin someone's season right off the bat. So when it comes to this, I'm not predicting the game right now. I have a prediction video coming out later this week. So stay tuned when we predict every single game from week one. Colorado has a lot to prove. I think they're plenty motivated. I think they fixed some of their weaknesses from last year. And then the question is just going to be, can they put it all together? Same thing with NDSU. I think, can they put it all together under a new staff? Can they continue doing what they've done best, which is playing really good defense, establishing the run, and winning football games, including against Power Five opponents? That's going to be a really fun game to watch. And I'm excited to see which one of these teams answers those questions in week one.